It's time now for our next session. Find out more about navigating chronic kidney disease as our next guests will provide insight during our It Takes Two, You and Your Doctor panel. I met all these people outside, I gotta tell you, and they're great. They're so full of energy, and I love that. That keeps my energy up, right? Don't you love it when people in the room have energy and that keeps you going, right? Well, the moderator, she's full of it too. Full of energy, everybody. The moderator for this session is none other than Noelle Bush, Director of Marketing at Boehringer Ingelheim. Ms. Bush is a marketing guru with over 20 years of experience in cardiorenal metabolic health. She is focused on innovation and healthcare advocacy that enhances patient outcomes. Let's all welcome Dr. Eugene E. Wright Jr., Dr. Patrick G., Thelma B., and Noelle Bush to the stage.
Right now, I'm Rob Bass and I'm back to throw down. Now I'm internationally known, rocking wisdom from the microphone. These health conditions, let's put attention to this mission. You gotta just listen. People with no symptoms to show could have kidney disease and not know. Follow the advice, don't neglect it. Gotta make an effort to detect it, cause
it takes two to make a thing go right. It takes two to make it out of sight. It takes two to make a thing go right. It takes two to make it out of sight.
I got a message that I wanna share. Stop a minute, listen up. You gotta care, no matter what. You gotta do what's best. It all starts with an extra test, yeah. If you think that I'm wrong, you're a doubter. Reach for the test, cause knowledge is power. Early detection is important. Gotta be smart, let's go and make sure everything's alright. Cause it takes two to make it out of sight. Come on.
It takes two to make a thing go right. It takes two to make it out of sight. It takes two to make a thing go right. It takes two to make it out of sight. It takes two to make a thing go right.
That's the next big hit. You know, we're Grammy nominated. We'll be winning awards. But no, I'm really excited to be here today. Really excited to have the opportunity to connect with each one of you. And we've been extremely excited to bring this campaign to market. And the opportunity to partner with Rob Bass. He has a personal connection with DJ Easy Rock when it comes to him dying with complications of type 2 diabetes. And he has been a strong advocate for wanting to do something in the community. And so for us to be able to help elevate the importance of kidney health in such a way that connects us through music, right? Gets us talking about the right things. And, you know, when you think about that song, It Takes Two, I grew up on that. I know a lot of us have partied to that, but to be able to remake that and help leverage lyrics in such a way that we can really amplify the importance of two tests, partnering, you and your HCP, and really talking about what matters. And why does it matter? You heard them say, I think in the intro, I've been in this space for over 20 years. I've been blessed to really be a part of the type 2 diabetes, chronic kidney, cardiorenal metabolic health conditions as a whole. And it's important to me personally because it's my people, right? I advocate for my parents. Quite often I've had to talk to their providers and ask them challenging questions, push back on things that I didn't think were necessarily the appropriate treatment plan, or potentially opportunities where maybe some tests were not being ordered, right? There's a lot of biases, a lot of assumptions about what we cannot afford, what we're willing or not willing to do. And so it's really important to advocate for yourself because knowledge is power. And so that's what we're going to do today. Hopefully you can feel from the energy of the campaign, and you'll see from the energy of the panel that we are here to help empower you to drive the importance of the knowledge, the importance of having those right conversations. And what's been very inspiring and encouraging to me is to be able to partner with these three here I have today. They've been on this journey with me, and their stories are motivating. They will touch your hearts and your souls, and they will continue to have you thinking about what should I be talking to my doctor about next. So with that, enough about me. I'm going to turn it over and let them introduce themselves, and then we'll get into a discussion.
Good afternoon. Welcome, everybody, to this session. I think you can see we're starting off with a lot of energy. My name is Eugene Wright. I am a consulting associate in the Department of Medicine at Duke, but I currently live and work in Charlotte, North Carolina, and very happy to be on stage with these two phenomenal people.
First of all, before I introduce myself, can the church just say amen?
Amen.
Hallelujah. My name is Patrick G., and I reside in the great state of Virginia, living in the city of Richmond. I am a former peritoneal dialysis, in-center hemodialysis patient. Next month will be my 7th year with a kidney transplant. I am very happy to be here today. Thank you.
And hi, I'm Thelma B. I guess that's what they call me because that's my rapper's name, and I'm standing up by eating them. Anyway, my name is Thelma, and I am a 2-time kidney transplant recipient, one via living donor. My sister Diane so graciously saved my life in 1999. After that kidney, 10 years good, I was blessed to get out my twin miracle boys. And after that, my doctor recommended that I multi-list for a kidney, and I packed the whole family up when we took the show on the road from New York all the way to Florida, and I was blessed in 2011 with my second kidney transplant by a deceased donor, and so I'm just thankful, grateful for life, happy to be here, and just want to share and educate you all about this disease and the journey. Thank you.
So Thelma, I'm going to start with you since you ended with journey. Maybe share with the audience, since you have been on the journey and been a part of us doing the remake of the song with Rob Bass, how has that experience impacted you, and why were you willing to be a part of this campaign with me?
Well, first and foremost, who could turn down partnering with a rapper to sing about kidney disease? How ingenious is that? We know that rap and hip hop has been the genre of music used throughout our culture to talk about the controversies and social, economic things that's happened to us. So why not partner with them? And I'm from originally the Bronx, New York, where it all started. Let's keep it real, clap it up. Up in the BX, that's right. But no, seriously, I partner because the campaign aligns with what has saved my life. Taking 2 people, your healthcare partner, taking 2 people, you and your care partner, and those 2 tests. Those 2 tests are very, very extremely important to have because that will unleash what is actually happening in your body. Those tests are called the EGFR and the UACR. We're going to drop them acronyms as I say, but we're going to focus on getting a blood test, and we're focusing on getting that urine test. And that urine test has to be the one that is checking the functioning of your kidneys, and that is what it's about. Knowledge is power, and It Takes Two was like, it was a no-brainer to be a part of this because it's educating our people, and music connects us, and you know rap has always educated us, so thank you.
You know, there are some, yes, thank you. There are some statistics when we talk about chronic kidney disease that are very startling. So 35.5 million Americans here in the United States have chronic kidney disease, and only 10% of them are aware. And so as we really tried to think about what we wanted to do to elevate the importance, as you heard Thelma talking about the importance of 2 tests, we really wanted to make sure that it was simple, it was something that, you know, could be easily remembered, because that advocacy that needs to happen between a patient when it comes to that conversation with you and your healthcare provider is necessary. And so with that, Patrick, I'd be interested in knowing a little bit about what your experiences have been with your healthcare provider as you've been on your journey with kidney health.
So my story began in 2003 when I was working for the Virginia Department of Corrections. I was feeling very fatigued, very tired. I went to the nurse's station and I told them my symptoms. So the nurse asked me, had I ever had my glucose checked? I didn't know what she was talking about. She checked my glucose, then she asked for my car keys. I said, why do you need my car keys? She said, because your glucose level is 748. You should be dead. And if you try to drive off this lot, we'll have Virginia State Police arrest you for driving under the influence. I relinquished my keys. I had a couple of officers take me to the emergency room. My A1C was 11.7. The doctor told me that I was suffering from type 2 diabetes, recommended me to an endocrinologist. For 10 years, the endocrinologist prescribed 2 medications and said exercise. That was it. April of 2013 is when I went in for a routine checkup. I thought everything was good. I'm out in the parking lot at my car. My doctor comes flying out the building. Patrick, I forgot to tell you, you're at stage 3B of chronic kidney disease, and you only have between 30 to 35% kidney function. Let that rest in your spirit for a second. From that moment, I was referred to a kidney doctor. The kidney doctor said, Mr. G, eventually you're going to go on dialysis, but we're going to slow down the progression by telling you to abstain from nuts, dairy products, and chocolate. December the 1st, 2013 is when I did my very first exchange of peritoneal dialysis. 4 years later, I'm on the table getting a kidney transplant from a deceased donor. When I wake up, the transplant isn't working, so now I have to do 24 hours of dialysis every other day. 5 days after my kidney transplant, I have a blood clot in my neck. I have to have another surgery. 3 days after the blood clot surgery, I'm hemorrhaging. 17 days later, they want to create a laparoscopic peritoneum window so I can drain internally. My kidney woke up on the 40th day. This is what I need you to know. Take the number 47. So 40 represents trials, tribulations, and probation. 7 represents completion. It's done. It's finished. 2.5 years I couldn't urinate. Folks, some of you in here today that may be living with undiagnosed diabetes and hypertension, please take what we are going to say very seriously. Because I tell everybody, I want you to be better than me. That is my story.
The first time I heard Thelma's story, it brought me to tears. I was actually at work in a meeting presenting, and I couldn't even move forward. And then when I heard Patrick's, the sense of urgency that I felt like we have to figure out how to do more, right? I'm so thankful that not only have they survived these situations, but they're thriving, right? I mean, they're here, their energy, we can all feel it, right? It's contagious. But it feels like something's broken, right? Like we have to do something to fix this. And so I know several of us, when we go into that healthcare provider, that patient doctor relationship is one that we value, right? We go see our doctor, they're a person of authority. And sometimes, as I have reflected on Thelma's and Patrick's stories, you kind of wonder, like, what happened, right? And so Dr. Wright, who is a provider I have so much respect for, I wonder, what are your thoughts as you think about what has taken place for both Thelma and Patrick as it relates to the role of a primary care provider, that healthcare physician, that first line of defense, the first individual that has the opportunity to really see what's going on and drive an impact? How can we do something different?
Well, first I have to say that I am blessed to be amongst miracles, living miracles and blessings. Miracles in extent from what they've been through, and blessings because they are willing to share their stories for the benefit of all. Now, as a primary care clinician, on the front line, there are a lot of things that we have to deal with lots of our patients. But I will tell you, there's nothing more impactful than when a patient comes in as their own advocate, right? So all of you here today, if you hear nothing else from me, be your own advocate, your best advocate. Go in and ask questions. Even better, Thelma has said it, the two test. You and your practitioner, you got two kidneys, you got to get two tests, right? You got to get the EGFR, and you got to get the UACR. So on the front lines, oftentimes we get busy. People say, well, I don't have enough time to do that. If you ask for it, I'll make time.
Well, you heard that. Ask for it. But I'm interested in knowing, because I can say, Thelma and Patrick, you two are special, right? And you're empowered. You advocate for yourself. How knowledgeable were both of you about the two tests before you went through your situations?
Didn't know anything about two tests, okay? How about, I didn't even know where McKinney's were and how they worked. How about that? Okay? So it was eye-opening to me because I was 12 years old and I used to suffer with a lot of swelling in my hands and in my feet. And I complained to my mom, and she had taken me to the doctor. But mind you, I grew up in impoverished neighborhoods in the Bronx, so as I like to call it respectfully, we had to use the government health insurance or go to the free clinics for treatment. And when my mom had taken me to the doctor was like, oh, she just needs to lose weight. Now, this man never touched me, never ran a test, but he judged this book by a cover and said, I need to lose weight. And I'm saying, how much weight do I need to lose? I'm very active. I'm running track. I'm in a drum and bugle corps. I'm twirling flags. I'm running up and down the Grand Concourse in the Puerto Rican Day Parade, having a good old time exercising. So what does weight have to do with this? This man fixed his mouth and said, well, the weight is pushing down on my limbs, causing them to swell. So decades later, I just got out of college. I'm coming down with flu-like symptoms. I go to the doctor because at this point, I got the good commercial health insurance with my first job. So I switched zip codes because that matters as well. I left the Bronx and went down to Manhattan. And I go to this doctor with flu-like symptoms. They do a dipstick in my urine and said I have blood and protein. And I'm sitting there like, okay, what does that mean? They tested me for HIV, tested me for lupus. Everything came back negative. They sent me up to have a biopsy on my kidney, and turns out I had a rare benign kidney disease called IgA nephropathy, nephrotic syndrome. Now, I was dumbfounded. I was clueless. I just didn't know what to do. So when I realized that this is something that could have plagued me since I was a kid, it was devastating. And what I'm here to tell you all is that experience has taught me the importance of using your voice and speaking up. Now, I was only 12, and my mother raised me to be extremely respectful, don't talk unless you've spoken to, and respect your elders. But as I look at my 12-year-old self, I'm like, I wish I would have just got up and told this man, you crazy. Said something, but I didn't. So now you're not going to keep me shut up. You're not going to keep me quiet. I'm going to run my mouth, and I'm going to tell you all, the power is in you advocating for yourself. Do not be afraid to ask questions. And if you are afraid to ask questions, take a partner with you. My husband used to go with me to those appointments, and I used to flatline like, boo, doctor talking, I don't know what they said, but that's why I love these new patient portals. Take your time. Go through those portals. Research. You'll find out you got all these diseases that the man never told you had, or the woman never told you, the doctor never told you had, unless you in those portals digging deep into your health conditions. So empower yourselves. The worst thing they could say is no. That's what my mother told me. They can't beat you, can't kill you. They'll tell you no, but be resourceful, but stand up for yourselves, okay?
For me, I was being administered the test without knowing what the test was for. Does anybody in here drink beer? Anybody? Show of hands.
Put their hands up. You know y'all drink some beer.
So what I found out is that my urine looked like when you pop open a bottle of beer and you pour it in, and you know how there's a lot of foam At the top, right. Well, that was protein leaking out of my kidney, which means that that's a sign that your kidneys may be damaged. And I never knew that. And I saw it, but I didn't understand it, and she never explained it. So if you see something like that, do something about it. Don't blow it off. But now we have the opportunity to be more proactive than reactive.
I'd like to speak to that, being proactive. There's a very interesting saying from Bishop Desmond Tutu, is that, and it goes something like this, don't quote me on this, but it makes more sense to fish, which makes more sense, to fish bodies out of the river or go upstream and stop them from jumping in, right? And I think about that with chronic kidney disease, and I think about that when I talk to patients about two things. Remember, you don't have to be sick to get better.
Yes.
Right? We have to get checked so that we know what's coming on. And then, of course, I have, in my practices, I've had patients who are, man, well, I don't feel bad. I haven't had any symptoms. And my response to them is, don't let your first symptom be your last. Right? So that speaks to the power of prevention and awareness. And those are the things that I think that these kinds of conferences allow us to do, to really focus in on being aware and being activated to prevent these things.
Yes.
Awesome. And type 2 diabetes and hypertension are the two biggest leading causes for chronic kidney disease. And a lot of us probably have family members or individuals close to us that have type 2 or hypertension. I mean, Dr. Wright, what's the one or two things that you would recommend when someone goes in and they're advocating for themselves with their doctor? What do they need to say?
I would like to have the two tests to check my kidneys, right? Because that's going to be one of the things that if you're caught early, you can prevent it. You can slow that down. And that's why in hypertension and diabetes, why do we treat these conditions? Is to prevent the complications, right? It's not just about the sugar. That's important. But it's about preventing kidney disease, heart disease, all of these things that occur. So how are we going to prevent them if we don't know they exist? You said earlier, 80% of the people who have chronic kidney disease haven't been screened for it. 90% don't know they have it. So you have to be your own advocate, get screened, and then start to do the things that you need to do, including taking medications, changing lifestyles to improve your risk.
So although we're here really talking about It Takes Two through our campaign, I hope that you hear that the core of our message is that it takes you. You need to advocate for yourself. Knowledge is power. And if you're not willing to put forth the effort to have the right conversations with your doctor, there's a high probability that you won't get the appropriate screening and testing needed to help prevent situations progressing. So we're going to see, are there any questions? Yeah.
Hold on 1 second. Audio.
I think one of the two tests that we're
Hello.
talking about is
We have a virtual audience, so we want to make sure they can hear the question.
Awesome.
What are the two tests you were talking about?
the two tests that we're talking about are the eGFR, which is a blood test, and the UACR, which is a urine albumin creatinine ratio, which is a urine test. So think about two tests, the blood test and the urine test are important to diagnose chronic kidney disease.
Hi. Is it sometimes that a lot of doctors are not very educated on some of this stuff? And if we go get tested for the two tests, a lot of times we don't get the results of the test. And one symptom could be, you know, I can say I have pain on my side or something, and they'll say, well, that's something else, or something like that. So how do we really advocate for ourselves and know that we are being heard?
So there are two ways. I'll just mention two briefly and be interested to hear from you. With the patient portals, as Thelma has said, you can go out and find your results. Advocate for yourself to get the two tests. There are all kinds of literature out there at the booth out here, as well as on the National Kidney Foundation website. What do these tests mean? So you can get that information. The first thing in advocating for yourself is to get the test.
On the EGFR, oftentimes I see that there's a certain line about African Americans, that there's a certain difference. Is that still current, or how should we interpret
That's a great question. That has been removed from, it was so-called race modifier. That was removed, and starting back in 2021, and almost all, if not all of the laboratories that are reporting it now are reporting it without the race modifier. The race modifier, just briefly, tended to make your kidney function look better than it actually was, which delayed people getting on dialysis, it delayed people getting transplants. That has been removed. That should not be on any test that you get currently.
Good afternoon. I just want to say that I'm extremely excited about this presentation. I just retired from the CDC back the end of the year, and one of the projects that I was working on was chronic kidney disease and use of the electronic patient portal in order to have patients more active in engaging themselves in their own health. And that is today, I just had to be here. The first day after I've retired, I had to come to a health conference because of this particular conference. And I am so excited about what I have heard in here as well as outside. But one of the things that I want to say is that we need to be able to get into our communities where patients and their clinicians are. Primary care physicians are extremely busy. Nurse practitioners and everybody, they just don't have the time that they really need to be able to provide the kind of information that patients need. And I heard a nurse outside earlier today say she didn't have any idea what a UACR was. And I'm not surprised. There are so many laboratory tests now, it's hard for physicians and everybody to keep up with the number of tests and how those tests are done. You all probably learned that in the COVID era, that there are many ways to do a test. But anyway, I want to say that I feel like we really need to get into our communities. We need to educate our patients. I was happy to see that one of the organizations is building support through Black churches, and I think that's one of the ways to get to people. Secondly, I think we do need to help our clinicians because a lot of them are struggling with the electronic patient portal and with the electronic medical record. And so we need to be there to help them out. And I'm going to hurry up and sit down since I'm not on the program. But the next thing I want to say is that we as people who we're talking about disease here in chronic kidney disease, we need to know another word. It's called acute kidney disease. I heard a lady earlier today stand up and say she had a problem. She had to go on dialysis, but she got better. The first thing that occurred to me, she probably had acute kidney disease and got over it, thankfully. Anyway, I wanted to stop here and say how much I'm enjoying this presentation.
All right.
We have time for 2 more questions.
Hello, and thank you so much for the presentation. What I would like to say is that as far as advocacy, you don't know what you don't know.
Yes.
And I don't mean this in any way with any disrespect, but the people who are in position to advocate for us, why can't they? It seems that there are certain tests that we should have as people. You know, it should be tests put in for our annual, and it's not happening. And they seem to be talking circles around us a lot of times, and we don't know anything until it is chronic or acute.
I was just going to speak to that briefly, that there's currently a move within Medicare as well as within one of the non-Medicare circles to have both tests, the UACR and the EGFR, be counted toward the quality that the practice gives. So I think that's a slow process, but that will be one thing that will move this along.
Yes, I want to ask the doctor, how often should I get the screenings that y'all are talking about? Even though I get a physical every year and I get the blood work and the urinalysis done, but how often should I get those screenings and everything? And I'm asking for a reason.
Great question. If you have risk factors, hypertension, diabetes, smoke, overweight, family history of chronic kidney disease, every year. If it comes back abnormal, you ought to have it at least twice a year, and depending on how abnormal it is, if it's stage 3A, as Patrick's was when he got it, it ought to be checked at least 3 times a year, and you should be started on medication and or referred to a nephrologist, kidney specialist, for that.
Yes, thank you. How impactful is the diet to prevent A1C? Because I'm thinking that everything that's happening in my body is coming from inflammation, and I don't know how to control that. My high A1C, hypertension, and then I hear about the Ozempic and all that. If those anti-diabetic drugs, the new drugs, if they could offset the diabetes, would that also prevent you from having kidney disorders? And I'm just trying to figure out how I can control my chances of not getting kidney disease when I already am losing the battle 2 out of 3.
So briefly, 3 things you can think about: controlling your A1C, keeping your blood sugars down, keeping your blood pressure under control, keeping your cholesterol under control. If you don't smoke, don't start. If you do, stop. Diet is a very important part of diabetes management, but it also affects cholesterol, blood pressure, and yes, your kidneys. A lot of has been said earlier. I think one of the sessions earlier was about weight loss. Weight loss helps, but it's not going to do it alone. You've got to change your lifestyle with that. So it's going to take weight loss, medication, lifestyle changes, but it's a difficult journey, but it's certainly one well worth the effort.
All right. That's a question. Way back in the back.
I think we have time for maybe one more question. Go ahead.
Hold on, please.
I have diabetes and blood pressure. I had that EGFR. That came out okay, but I don't know about, is the other test dealing with creatine, albumin, and
UACR, yeah.
Okay. And I guess my thing is, as a diabetic, you gotta urinate a lot. So I don't know if that has something to do with kidney disease, and also eating carbohydrates, your rice, your potatoes, your bread. Of course, that makes your blood sugar go up. But what kind of diet would you say would be optimal so that you don't lose your kidneys?
Certainly you ought to see a dietitian and get advice on your diet for control of your blood pressure and your diabetes. But the UACR, along with the EGFR, really defines whether or not you have kidney disease. So you can have an EGFR that looks normal, but in the presence of a lot of albuminuria. Patrick was saying he had that foamy urine and all that. That can show that there's significant kidney damage. So you really do need to have 2. The whole message behind this, it takes 2. You and your doctor, 2 tests, got to have 2.
And I just wanted to say that when it comes to medical nutritional therapy, there's no one size fits all. And that's why we're saying that it takes two, because it is very important for you to partner with your doctors so that you all can have that early detection, so that you can start to find the treatment options that are best to start to work on your particular situation. And so to round it off, go to testyourkidneys.com for more information. But when we do sit here and say about how it takes two, partnering with your doctor is important. And I want to tell people, if you do have a physician and you're not happy with them, it's okay to make changes. Don't feel like, you're not empowered to change your doctors, that you're tied with this person for the rest of your life. That's why it's called second, third, fourth. I had about 5 opinions before I said I could accept my diagnosis of this kidney disease. So at the end of the day, partner with family. If you don't have family and friends that you're close to, you have your church, you have other people in your community, and let's work together, because the knowledge is in that power, and we're going to do everything it takes to make it all right, because it takes two.
If
Make
can
it out
just
of
say
sight. Dynamite.
One thing before we close, March is National Kidney Month.
Yes.
All right? World Kidney Day is March 14th. You see, we have orange on. That's for National Kidney Month. If you do nothing else this month, if you have an opportunity to see your practitioner, get screened for kidney disease.
All right.
And
Patrick, before we close out.
yeah, I just want to close out on this. To everybody here, you heard everything that was said about the 2 tests. We answered some of your questions. You can certainly catch us out in the lobby if there were some folks that didn't get a chance to have their questions answered. In the city of Atlanta, there are 3 advocates that I recommend. Morgan Reed works for the National Kidney Foundation. Look her up. Excellent. Edward Drake, who's a part of the American Association of Kidney Patients. But the best voice is the young lady sitting right there, Miss Crystal King. Talk to her. Her business is here. If you need somebody to fight for you, to advocate for you, we was just on Capitol Hill this week where we was talking about trying to get the research done to make it mandatory for these 2 tests to be done. We believe that legislation will pass this because it's necessary, because it is plaguing our community.
Yes.
So thank you all for allowing us to be here.
Thank you.
We really appreciate it. God bless you all.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, and thank you so much for being engaged during our session. So if you didn't have a chance to come and check us out at the booth, we will be there. We welcome any additional questions that you have. And on behalf of Boehringer Ingelheim and Eli Lilly, we just want to thank you again for allowing us to be a sponsor of this event. And we really hope that you have the right conversations with your community, with your loved ones, and your healthcare provider, because it takes two. Thank you.